Right. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to That's the Thing, Week 12, with myself, Lawler, and Johnny Boy, as always. For those that are new to the show, That's the Thing is a podcast that we do weekly, usually at 5 p.m. CST on Thursdays. But due to the patch coming out today, we're going to change that up a little bit and do it a little bit earlier in hopes that we don't conflict with that. The show itself is where we discuss imperative topics in the Rocket League community. Each week, we're joined by a special guest. That guest this week is Quinn Lobdell, who is waiting patiently in chat. Quinn Lobdell, you can hit us with a "Hey guys" or something like that if you'd like. But we talk and dive into the latest news, the juiciest gossip, all while we try to keep it a little bit serious, but also a little bit lighthearted. To end it, we always end with some community focus, whether it be the content or live Q&A, because at the end of the day, that is what the thing is focusing on you guys in the community and trying to interact with you guys as much as possible. This week, we are going to be talking about the RLCS roster shuffle. We're on volume 3 of the roster shuffle, where teams go absolutely bonkers the day before the patch, where all the LFTs get put together. We'll then be joined after that with Quinn Lobdell talking about personal PR, your player relations, or your public relations as a player yourself, or an organization, or just way that you carry yourself in the community and things that you need to do or not do. After that, we'll wrap up and cut the audio and talk to the community and kind of showcase some certain things. I know there's some pretty cool stuff that even Johnny Boys received that we get to show off, which is pretty sweet.
Oh, yeah.
So you guys are doing some really cool stuff. And then we always wrap up with a live Q&A. So to start things off, topic 1, RLCS roster shuffle volume 3. Johnny, if you kind of want to just talk about overall what is happening yet again.
Yeah, so briefly, well, the short story is that North American teams are sticking together largely, with a few changes here and there, and EU teams have changed everything. And we'll go into details in the finalized roster so that those of you who have not been keeping up with the last minute changes are up to date. And then we'll discuss a couple of the interesting changes, talk a little bit about the storyline of the players, follow on from all of the previous LAN boys, and then we'll talk a bit with Quinn about these when he comes on as well, because I know he's got a lot of interesting things to say about some of the team rosters in particular. But I'll go ahead and start off with a couple of the finalized rosters. The first on our list is a pretty cool announcement that just happened yesterday. So IBP are now, of course, picked up by Gamers2, and that is Cronovio, Overzero, and Lachinio, and Gambit as the manager/coach, sub, multi-role, whatever you want to call it. So they're sticking together, but they also roping in Squishy Muffins, which is actually a very, very interesting move. One that I think is very smart for I'm still calling them IBP, for Gamers2, and for Squishy Muffins himself, because it's a great PR move. They're going to get a couple more fans for G2, and Squishy's going to get a put Gamers2 in front of his name, which will get him more fans. So I think it's a very smart move, and we'll talk a bit about why Squishy decided to go there when Quinn comes on, because I know he was having a little bit of a discussion with him behind the scenes. And elsewhere, we see Kings of Urban, exactly the same roster. Exodus, exactly the same roster. Genesis have benched the aforementioned Quinn Lobdell, / Quinn has decided to take a more of a move into casting and analytics. So we'll, get his thoughts on that one when he's on later on in the show. Classics has come in as the third to replace Quinn. They actually are fresh off the back of a win in
back-to-back Rocket Royale. Two back-to-back. They have yet to lose a tournament together, which is
they're
fantastic.
Doing fantastically well. Yeah, they're tearing it up. So good to see Classics, Espion, and Pluto doing so well, because we always knew that these guys were mechanical gods. But will that transition to a LAN setting is yet to be seen. A couple of other teams. Do you want to tell us about Vendetta, Selfless, and Take-Two, Lawler?
Yeah, so Squishy Muffins, as we said, he originally was on a team called Vendetta. Vendetta is Darkfire, Torment, and Matt, two of the members from Lucky Bounce, and then picking up Matt from Selfless. To my knowledge, and this isn't official, I'm almost positive that Karma is going to be a sub for that team as well. But Vendetta has actually been playing very, very well in accordance to some of the other ones. It's just, for some reason, Genesis, with that Classes pickup and that aggression coming out from him, has been working very, very well. Seems to suit their playstyle. So Vendetta, it's another team to look out for. I mean, you see Darkfire and Torment, they took over pretty much that second qualifier with the help of Timothy. So good stuff there. Selfless is now, for those that know, the Momentum squad that has been kind of on a tear. They were top 4 in the power rankings as of late. Dapper, JNaps, Timmy, and What's Up Miho. They were picked up by Selfless as a sub. Technically, that's A Money's team. A Money is also sub, but whether he sees any playing time, we have no idea. But yeah, I mean, do you want to kind of talk about the difference between the benefits of picking up teams that chemistry-wise may have someone that fits better, like Genesis, having Classics come in with that aggression, or the benefit of keeping the original roster? Why is there pros and cons to each?
Well, of course, the pros for keeping the original roster is, for a lot of these guys, Gamers 2 are the obvious ones that come to mind. They're proven on a LAN setting, so they know that they have functioned well at the RLCS LAN World Championships #1 because they won it. So them making a change would have made no sense. Obvious for them to stick together. And for other teams like Kings of Urban and Exodus, they've been performing online very, very well for the longest time. And to make a change is a big risk. It's a pretty short turnover between RLCS 1 and 2. And if they do make a change, they're not 100% sure if that's going to work. They've decided to just stick with their guns. But with Genesis, they really didn't feel like what they had was working. And Espeon and Pluto wanted to try somebody different, somebody more aggressive, albeit maybe less of a leadership role than Quinn brought to the team. And I'm very interested to hear, like I said before, what Quinn's got to say about that one. And we'll see when we talk about the EU teams in just a second. We'll talk about why these teams are changing rosters, because in NA largely teams are staying the same because they have good chemistry, they're working well together. No reason to change and take a risk when you feel like you've already got a good deal. So it's a pretty easy choice for all these teams to stay together. The ones that have kept the same rosters, and even Genesis, Pluto, and Espeon are staying together. There's been literally one changed player out of all the players who are at LAN from North America. Only one, and that's Quinn, is stepping out to take a more casting and analytical role, and Classics is coming in on the EU side of things. Everybody's changing, and again, like you said, Quinn is actually the oldest of all of the players at the LAN, so that might have something to do with it. Maybe he just wants a bit more job security than a pro player career brings him. But yeah, the subs as well are also something I'd like to hear your thoughts on, because we're seeing Karma potentially as a sub for Vendetta, like you said, Squishy as a sub for IBP, and
G2. Yep.
Yeah, for G2. Sorry, my apologies. I'm going to keep calling them IBP because it's
going to
so
happen
easy
for a
to
while.
see.
It's the same
It's
thing
so easy to say.
When it was Weed and Heroes in Northern Gaming, like we slipped out on
Yeah,
it so many times.
it's much easier to say the three initials than one initial and a number. But like you said, G2 picking up Squishy, that's like a good PR move. And Karma's obviously got a big fan base, so I'm expecting to see teams do that. They're going to use their sub position to pick up somebody, or even like A Money on Selfless. He's a pretty solid player, and having him in that sub role is going to give the team more attention, which it's easier to get a sponsor if you have someone with a large following, be it on Twitter, YouTube, or Twitch, as a sub on the team. That just is good business. So I'm expecting to see more of that, and we'll talk about this a little bit more later. But Jazer has been scrimming with Flipside. Whether or not that means that he's going to be subbing for them remains to be seen. But that would be another really good move from a PR standpoint. We'll talk. It's relevant because we're going to be talking about PR later in depth. But that's we have to remember that these teams are part of a business world, and they're negotiating terms, including salaries, and it's much more enticing if you say, "Hey, our sub's got 80,000, or our substitute has 80,000 subscribers on YouTube." Just realize that the abbreviation for both those words is the same. It might get a bit confusing. Yeah, what do you think about that? Because
I love it. I think it's a really smart move. Eventually you're gonna have to pack rosters anyway. And if you can find someone that mechanically sound, easy to coach, willing to practice if we need you, or is just overall available, but then they can also increase their worth. I think that's gonna make people in the community understand how important that is. Being able to take, I may not be playing for the roster full time. That allows me to go and focus on other facets of things that I can do to build up my own self, while also benefiting from the name too. So no, I may not be playing at all times. I'm not going to be on the screen, but I am in that list every single time. So why not help me help you, and vice versa? Okay, I get the roster name, I get the ability to promote, but now I can go focus on my YouTube. I can go stream more. I can go do this. I can do that. So it's cool that you're going to probably start seeing that happen, as it's kind of a way to build your resume, I guess is a good way to phrase it. So when I come into being on a team, it's like, yeah, you have a solid team, but you should pick me also because I bring this to the table. So you're gonna start
Yeah.
seeing people do that, and I like how teams are starting to get a little bit smarter. We see the Take Two roster weren't really happy with certain things going on behind the scenes. They decided to come back. Rizzo's now back. Insolences, Zane, Jackie, Low Five are now playing on a
That's
team
really
together
great,
for
isn't
Take
it?
Two. Glad to see those guys back in action. I know Rizzo is always kind of here and there. He's streaming today, like all this kind of stuff. So it's good to see that these guys understand and can be enticed by money. And I know I hate that is the number one reason for all the pro players. It's money. Once we see it, and part of the reasons why these rosters break up so much is there's no real incentive to stay together other than we won, we got the money.
Yeah.
In all reality, like none of these guys are willing because they're young. They make a lot of dumb mistakes. No offense, you guys, but as a scene, you guys are really stupid. It drives me nuts. But we love you, and it creates perfect things for us to talk about. But if you saw gaming houses and salaries and contracts involved, that stuff would not happen. So in
Yeah,
time,
nowhere near as
that
many
may
changes.
yeah, in time that transition may not happen. But as of right now, money is the driving incentive. So
Yeah.
if you can get on a team that's going to give you a better salary, a better chance to make something and be able to turn this into a career, because that's the toughest thing is you have a lot of people that are trying to delegate real life, going to school, working. You have a lot of players that are like, should I, especially in the younger ones, like Lachinio and Turtle, do I
Yeah.
go to public school and have a social life and have friends, or do I say the heck with that?
Not have friends.
Yeah,
Or do you become a pro
yeah,
gamer and
yeah.
have no friends
Yeah,
at
and
all?
like
No
yeah, you have your
friends.
LAN boys,
It's a
but
lonely life.
that social interaction, like you're going to be, it's a different atmosphere going to public high school or switching to like online courses so you can just grind it out. Like it's
Yeah,
different.
for sure.
So switching between that mentality is different, and when you have to make that decision, money is pretty much one of the most defining roles in that decision. So
Yeah.
um,
And I like that you
hopefully,
mentioned Take Two because Low Five is another name that's a popular community figure, and he's subbing for that team. So it's basically Mucket NA are back under a new name, Take Two. They're giving it a second try, as their name would suggest. So it's good to get all of these guys involved, community figures like A Money, Jazer, Low Five, and Karma, Squishy Muffins. If none of these guys were in teams, that would be a net loss for the Rocket League scene as a whole, because the pro scene wouldn't be a part of their content. It wouldn't be a part of their everyday streaming life when people are asking them questions. So it's definitely a net positive to have these guys in pro teams and representing them as substitutes. It's a perfect move in my opinion.
yeah, fantastic.
You guys as well who are. Is there anyone who has a massive following who doesn't have a team?
Trying to
I don't
look.
know if there are. Like,
No,
I guess
most of the
Gibbs,
people that
Gibbs
have
is
like,
now
well,
off
Gibbs is a little bit
IDP, but
different
he is
story.
an RLCS
Yeah, and I guess that's
caster,
something
so
we can
he's
bring up
involved in
today
it.
too. Yeah, Gibbs. So
Yeah,
Gibbs originally with iBuyPower was he was their coach manager and kind of a sub, but and he's talked about this in public numerous times. The past probably 4 months, he hasn't done really much of anything for iBuyPower, other than kind of
yeah,
be like a, hey, I'm here if you need to talk kind of person for the players.
yeah, yeah.
He hasn't done any playing. He hasn't done any coaching. He has literally just been there, and that's a PR move for iBuyPower. The way that it works is he is getting paid a salary to keep that name or that icon on his stream. He has one of the biggest, if not the biggest, YouTube following, and every single video that he puts out, it shows their logo. It's a PR
I think
thing.
he's second to Subpar. Team Rocket have got the biggest
Yeah.
YouTube, I think,
So
total view wise, but that's
yeah. So
close second for Gibbs or Kronovi maybe. I'm not sure.
so when you see that stuff and he's going live, like for them that's free viewership. So even though he may not be a critical member of the team, he was at one point obviously, it's still a PR thing that this team is
Yeah.
going to take advantage of and try to use it to
And
their
he's a
advantage.
well-respected guy in the community as well.
Right,
One of the most
right,
universally loved people is Gibbs, unlike yourself or me.
right.
Everybody just hates us because we're huge scumbags. Gibbs is one of those people everybody just loves. So
And he just had
if
a
you
kid, like
are
how
in
to get
that
mad at a
position,
guy. Like
it did actually just cross my mind. Team Rocket are probably the biggest, like Rocket League community, which are not directly associated with RLCS, but of course they do have that Doomsy
right.
background, and hopefully Doomsy can get involved in this RLCS a bit more successfully than he did last time. And I think on that note, do we want to move on to EU?
Yeah,
Talk
let's
about,
switch over to
well, we've picked 8 teams from EU. I think these are not only the 8 most interesting rosters to
Mhm.
discuss, but also 8 that have definitely got a really good shot at making top 8, uh, at least that I know of. So
Yeah.
do you
So
want to take it away? A few of
there's
those?
obviously the most obvious ones. Greasy has left Northern Gaming, is now with Flipside.
Mm-hmm.
Johnny is also speculating. We've been seeing Jazer in some of their scrims. We don't know if he's going to be a sub or what's going on, but there's only so much you can assume because people play with other people. Like I play with pros. Am I going to be scrimming for anybody
Yeah,
or
I was
subbing
also
anybody?
scrimming
No.
with
Like
Greasy and Remco, but that
yeah.
means nothing. So.
Yeah, so we just don't know, but it's good to talk about. So, yeah, and then so Greasy's going to flip side. They've been looking really good in scrims, but it's a whole different story on the RLCS and at LAN. So we'll see how those guys go. But with that roster, they're scary. Greasy seems to be fitting well, so I'm excited to see how they do.
Oh yeah.
Pashy ended up leaving his team on Market, ended up going to Northern Gaming. That didn't work out. So he ended up going to a different side, and then they ended up deciding to go with Mystic, and they've been looking pretty strong as well.
Great move right there. Really, really intelligent move because if you look at the play styles of Mystic and Greasy, they're both very similar in some ways. So in this short time frame where you're looking at a quick turnover between RLCS 1 and 2, you don't have the time necessary to make a play style change like to bring Pashy into that team. And we saw it didn't work out. As myself and others predicted, it wasn't a good fit. Mystic, though, I didn't, consider that name when I was thinking about potential replacements. And then I heard that they'd picked him up and we're doing well with them. I was like, that's a genius move. These guys are both, like Greasy and Mystic, that is, are both so chaotic in offense, so confident in the air, really, really deadly in attack. And you have so much going for you in attack. Remco can just sit back and be that anchor that he loves to be, let Maestro and Mystic go crazy. So no surprise to see them doing really well. They actually demolished Flipside in the last Rocket Royale. And, I talked to Flipside boys about that. They weren't too disappointed. They were trying out some new things, but they are, at the same time, extremely impressed by Northern Gaming and the acquisition of Mystic. I think it's a really good move. Those are, as of now, my top 2 teams in the world, even though we did see IBP, now Gamers2, winning the LAN. They've not been performing as well online. Flipside and Northern Gaming are looking scary as ever.
Yeah. Moving along then. Turbo, Dogu, and a lot of dogs, or Oh My Dog is the official name, are going to be putting a team together. Because see, I haven't seen much of those guys playing together, but apparently they've been scrimming as much as they can.
Yeah.
Vogan, Yeezy, and Killer are now together. Trying to think of other ones. The one I'm actually excited with, and I'm curious to see, I know you and I have talked about this, Jesse, Flarky, and Sebadom are together. Sebadom just does some crazy stupid stuff in 1v1s that you cast. His bump game is through the roof. Like his unconventional playstyle is part of the reason why I like him as a player. But will that mindset carry through in a threes team in a live environment, or what's going on? That's something that we have yet to see, and stuff that it's once again only something we can speculate on.
Yeah, it's a confidence thing for him in threes because when he goes into 1v1s, he's confident, he knows what he wants to be doing, and he knows what his game plan is. So he feels very comfortable naturally, and that translates into some extremely aggressive and confident 1v1 play, which is evident. You just have to look at it. You don't even have to ask him. You just watch him play. You're like, this guy's really, really confident in what he's doing in 1v1s. And I want to highlight his turning. Like Sebadam, Devo, Marky Duda, these guys have ridiculous power sliding ability. And it's something that really impresses me because I'm so bad at it. It's really hard to just, nail every single power slide and be, straight on with the ball. That's something that really impresses me with Sebadam's ones play. Not something that you rely on much in 3v3 because you rotate much more wide in threes than you do in ones. You don't do tight rotations with the ball. It's big wide lines, so you don't get to see that skill translate so often. But it is noteworthy, that if that kind of mechanical capability in a tight corner does happen, or it can come to fruition in threes as well. That's I think why we used to see Flipside dominate so hard, because back at the start of Rocket League, Mike, Markey, and Kux were the best ones players in Europe alongside Pashy. And all these awkward little situations in 3v3 matches that they played, they would always come out on top because they just knew how to play them better than their opponents did.
Yep. And I think that's where we're going to see the meta shift, is power slide. People are going to start using that a little bit more creatively.
Yeah.
I think people will get more I guess, prevalent with it. It'll become more natural.
Yeah, there's stuff like wave dashes and also just like momentum preservation when you're landing are 2 things that players have not reached the skill cap on or anywhere close to the skill cap on. So look to see people elevate their play in those 2 areas for sure. I'm looking down the list. Oh yeah, so another really interesting team. Somebody in the chat actually mentioned one big streamer who hasn't been picked up by a team is Resd_, who is actually Spoonie in game. He's formerly an H1Z1 streamer, and now he decided to use his stream for Rocket League. Why not? It's nice to
See,
start off with
now,
8 followers and a sub button.
yeah,
But he is actually on a team. You want to tell us about
yes,
that one?
yeah. So,
Very interesting
yeah, I'm
team.
glad you brought that because as soon as you said that, I'm like, he actually snuck in on one, and the people that he's playing with are ones that you're definitely gonna know.
Mhm.
So, as we talked about, Mike stepped down due to personal reasons, and there's some stuff behind the scenes that's going on with him. We'll kind of get into that a little bit later, possibly. But
Yeah.
Mike decided that competitive play is just too much fun, and there's too much money on the line to stay away from it. So, Mike, Flipside's old sub Bipod, and Spoonie are actually going to be on a team called Good
Yeah.
Morning,
Good morning.
Mourning.
Yes. Good morning. Very interesting team though, because of course Mike he didn't have the time in due to his personal life, like we said, to commit to the pretty heavy training regime that Marky and Cux wanted to run. So they just had to part ways on good terms. But he, like you said, can't give up on the pro scene. Just too much fun. He actually made a statement recently, which we'll reference this later as well, where he said that at the LAN he really found out that that was his scene. He felt so at home competing at the highest level and meeting all those pros is something that he doesn't want to give up on yet. So it's good to see that he's trying to bring Bipod along with him. Those guys have been playing Rocket League together for years. They were 2v2 teammates in SARP way back in the beginning. So they're going to stick it out. And Spoonie, another English player, pretty big following on Twitch, and I'm sure that his following is going to grow as well as more and more people start to realize who he is. And he's playing in a team with Mike. Hey, that's a pretty good clickbait title right there. So
Right.
look to see a lot of interesting results from those guys and big upsets because nobody's talking about them except us. So I think that they could be a team that could sneak into top 8 and start taking some serious games off big teams.
Yep. Now, for those that are just joining us, this is That's the Thing Week 12 with
Wait, Spoonie
myself.
isn't English? He's Swedish? Okay, sorry, he's Swedish. My bad.
You don't
Sorry,
goof, man.
go on.
Yeah, this week 12, we're talking about the RLCS roster swaps. A lot of stuff going on in kind of the off scene for those that have been paying attention to Twitter. And Johnny, if you could kind of break down what happened with these last two teams we're going to talk about.
Okay, so way back in the very beginning of the Rocket League competitive scene, we had two players teaming up, and those players were Pashy and Siki. I can't remember who their third was, but Pashy did end up leaving Siki to go and start a team called Swarm with DeBoer and Stocky. And after some more roster changes involving kicking Stocky, getting Gambit on the team, Pashy leaves that team to join forces with Siki again. They are both StartBet, so they've known each other for a long time, both German players. And they team up on Crown Jewels, win the Rocket League Central Pro League finals against Flipside, one of the greatest series in Rocket League history. And then they move together to Mocket EU with Mystic. And then, of course, we had the Mystic to Turbo transition, going to the LAN, not having a good time, parting ways once again. But, these guys are two players with massive history between them. Pashy and Siki, they've done extremely well together. One of the best pairings in the entire history of Rocket League is Pashy and Siki. They've done some great things together, won a ton of tournaments and some really big ones. And now we see Pashy tried out with Northern Gaming, as we all know, didn't work out, so he wanted to try out with some more teams. K-Dup and Skyline were both looking for teams, and of course K-Dup, extremely high-rated French player in the ladder. He's been making a ton of impressive tournament results with numerous teams. He teamed up with his buddy Skyline. They're both French players. Pashy tried out with them, and he had also in the past had some tournament experience with Devo and Panda, who were actually teamed up with Siki at this point. So we're only talking a couple of days ago, not a long time between the time of discussion and the actual roster lock for RLCS. And then out of nowhere, we see Siki getting deserted by Devo and Panda, and Pashy kind of coming in there, taking that spot on that team. So last minute change, K-Dup and Skyline get given the boot by Pashy. Siki gets given the boot by Devo and Panda, and then Pashy, Devo, and Panda join up, and it looks like they're going to be the new Mocket EU team. And that leaves Siki, K-Dup, and Skyline thinking, well, none of us as a team, let's make a team together. And to be honest, I think they've got the better deal. I fancy Siki, K-Dup, and Skyline's chances a lot better than Pashy, Devo, Panda. I'm not sure about yourself, but initially when I hear the two rosters, I think Siki, K-Dup, and Skyline have got a pretty good deal at the last minute there. I hope it works out for them. And we will be talking a little bit more with Quinn about this because it is an extremely interesting last minute transition.
Yeah,
Wow, what a
Yeah,
strange decision.
the biggest interest with me is, so part of the reason why Pesci left Northern Gaming and they decided to part is because playstyle and chemistry didn't work out.
Hmm.
The player styles, and as we get further and further in the game, we know as players are even thought about in this kind of mentality, they're good enough to play at the pro level. That's not an issue anymore. We know the players that are going to be able to compete at this type of, champion, grand champion kind of area. Um, so it eventually, and it comes down to, as we talked about earlier, the player style, how they work together as a team. And when you are literally making a team within, days
Hmm.
of the rosters being closed, how do you know this team's going to work out? How do you know that this sub in this roster is going to be prevalent compared to the other one you already had?
Hmm.
Especially when it's someone like Siki that you've played with for so long. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's interesting to see, maybe there's something that I don't know between the synergy, or maybe there's something behind the scenes that you guys have done together to make that decision that you think is going to give you a better chance, or maybe you just want to mix it up. Maybe you've been playing with this player for so long that you're like, you know what, we haven't been able to secure it. Maybe we should part ways. I don't know. So that's stuff that I don't know. It's stuff that I wish I do know. But without actually physically talking to the people, it makes it kind of difficult. It's just we didn't really know this was going to happen. For some reason, you guys always like to create drama and blow things out of
We
proportion and
appreciate that.
make it crazy the day before the show goes live. So rather
Yeah.
than being able to be like, "Hey man, would you like to come on the show and talk about situation blah blah blah?" You're like, "Nah, let's wait this last minute. You guys can make the run of show tonight, and good luck." Like, so if you guys could have this happen like on a Tuesday, that'd be great. So
Yeah, and then have no additional drama between that Tuesday and the show on Thursday. That'd be perfect. Yeah, we do want to talk about this issue in a bit more detail. The whole Pesci drama, his statement that he released on Twitter, a bit of a fishy one at that. So we'll go into a bit more detail. It's very juicy, to say the least. But Quinn's going to join us for that, and also for other topics revolving around personal PR. I think that I've probably said everything that I want to say about the actual rosters themselves. Do we want to give quick predictions, perhaps, for what we
yeah,
expect to
as I'm
happen with these rosters, or who do we expect to actually qualify, and not only that, but finish first in the respective regions out of all these lineups?
yeah, while we're doing that too, I'm just gonna get Quinn in here because I'm sure Quinn wants to talk about those as
Yes,
well, and he's got
yes,
some
I
good
really hope
mentality
so.
about that too. So hopefully Quinn is on the line now. Hello, Quinn. Quinn, Quinn, please. Oh, Quinn's dead. Rip Quinn.
Quinn,
He's already dead.
no. At least he looks fantastic in that picture. Look at him,
Hey
Quinn,
squinting
guys,
on purpose
I'm
Quinn.
here.
to.
No, Quinn.
There he is.
Discord.
Quinn.
Discord, Quinn, please.
I'm here. I'm here. I'm
Oh,
here.
he's
I'm
pissed,
here.
guys. He's slamming
Excuse
stuff.
me.
Have you muted your Skype, Quinn?
Yeah, I muted. Oh wait. Oh my God, this is so loud. Oh, can I just hang up?
Production value LUL. Is this a Johnny Boy stream?
I'm hanging
Okay.
up, man.
Okay, actually that works out because we
No,
don't need him for
do we-
because he's
Do you still have
Yeah.
the picture?
Quinn
Alright,
doesn't
alright,
Quinn
I'm
doesn't
good.
know how to webcam. It's terrible.
I don't
Someday-
know.
Oh, just get a picture,
Actually.
yeah.
Someday I'll figure it out. But yeah, so we're kind of talking, and I'll try to stay out of this because I'd like to hear your insight on it, Quinn. But Johnny, if you would like to give your top three, wow, that's Johnny close up. Your top three for NA and EU, and then why, and then
Yeah.
Quinn, I'll have you do the same.
Okay, for me, I think that. Oh, wow, that really was very zoomed into my face. I love it. But yeah, for me, I think the New League Genesis are, yep, an obvious pick. They did make the last LAN, and now they're looking improved. With Classic, seems like they've just clicked, and they are obviously players with a lot of background in the Rocket League scene, so they're one of my choices for sure. And with the recent loss of Squishy Muffins from Vendetta, I think that team's fallen off for me a little bit. So Darkfire, Torment, and Matt, still a very, very dangerous team. I don't think I'm going to pick them in my top three, though. Kings of Urban, I will say, always been a top team in NA. You can't, I certainly can't bet against them. We have to remember, of course, Exodus and Take-Two, Take-Two, formerly Mockhead NA, have had some pretty consistent results in their history. I'd give Exodus the edge, though, just for consistency purposes. And G2, I'm actually not going to pick G2. I think that they've never been very consistent online. Should they make the LAN, even at a fourth place seeding, they would be pretty threatening at side LAN because they're proven LAN boys. But I think for me, Genesis, Kings of Urban Exodus are my top 3 in North America, and I think it's a bit easier in EU. You can't bet against Flipside and Northern Gaming right now. And then the third one is where it gets a little bit difficult. And for me, I'm actually going to go with KDOP, Siki, and Skyline. I think last minute they've really got a fantastic roster together, and the other teams to me just don't have that star quality in them that I see coming out of Siki and KDOP in particular. And I think Skyline should mesh pretty well with them. He is a player who's been around the pro scene for a long time, initially with Noble, and then with who was it again? I can't remember what team it was, but before they became Precision Z, he was teamed up with Dadu Tequilas on another organization, and I think they're back at as Precision Z now. Again, Siki, KDOP, and Skyline. Somebody might be able to confirm that. I think they're Precision Z again, so I'll give them my third place spot over the likes of Team Enjoy, who are, they have been pretty good online, but I don't think that they've got the star quality to keep up the consistency when teams start taking it a bit more seriously. SA are my fourth pick for EU. I think they're going to slot in at fourth. Just like, I know you asked for 3, but I'm going to give 4, just because I can't not mention Supersonic Avengers. I think they're the team. Supersonic Avengers and Gamers 2 are my 2 teams that I really want to make the LAN, but I don't believe in them yet. They need to they need to prove it to me. So that's
make
my
sure
predictions.
Doomsy plays both. There's only one
make sure-
qualifier this time, so that helps him out. But Doomsy, just make sure you play. That's all you gotta do, man.
Yes.
That's all it was possible, and they've been playing actually pretty well in tournaments. Like, they've been competing really well with some of the top guys. And
Yeah,
taking
they've
them
been beating
even,
most teams apart from Northern and Flipside, who have crushed them. And Team Enjoy have had pretty good results against SA as well.
Right.
But they should... I like how SA and G2 are my... Like somebody in chat says, my dark horses when they're just such well-known teams. But
Right, right.
I don't know. I just don't believe at the moment because online they're so inconsistent. They could show up, they might not. And you need to be consistent in this new format. And that's what I think that they might lack. I really hope that neither of them come 5th. Imagine that, they just come 5th place. Imagine. No defending champions from at the second LAN. No Supersonic Avengers again. Please, G2 and SA show up and impress us all.
Yeah,
I really hope
help
that
us build
happens.
this storyline, create a rivalry, something. But
Oh yeah,
before we go over
That'd be
this, our guest for this week is going to be Quinn the Landboy Lobdell, ex-Genesis Pro, fellow Landboy, and now fellow caster and analyst. How you doing, Quinn?
yes.
That good? Yeah? Doing great, Quinn? Muted mic,
Quinn,
boy?
your microphone's muted, buddy.
Oh, yeah, that would.
So if you guys don't know Quinn, that
That would
describes
help.
him in a nutshell, right there.
Oh, thank you. What a great introduction, right?
Love you too, man.
Okay.
Yeah, so thoughts.
Yeah, just
NA,
a caster now, dude, man.
yeah,
But-
NA top 3, EU top 3, take your picks. Why? Hit me with them.
Okay. So Darkfire and Torment. Who's the final third that
Matt.
they chose to? Matt. Okay. Now Matt is a
that's
player
Vendetta.
I used to rate. Vendetta. Sorry. Matt's a player I used to rate, but he took a few his breaks from the game, and now he really doesn't rank on my list as a top player. Like, he seems like he knows what he wants to do with the ball, but he's just never able to do it. And I don't see them making it to land that roster. If they still had Squishy, I could have seen that roster having success. But for now, they're not going to make it for me. I think they're in a potential fourth, fifth spot, along with G2. For me, I agree with Johnny there. I don't think G2 is. I don't want to discredit them for their performance at LAN. They obviously played really well and like great cohesive team performance from them, and I think that's why they were able to win the LAN. But
According to Torment in chat, they actually haven't decided yet on that final roster. So Matt is
well, who's
right
your
now.
sub? Torment?
Yeah, Torment. If you want to give us an official, to mine, I speculated Karma because of what just happened.
But you can pick subs up later
Yeah.
as long as somebody hasn't played an open qualifier.
Yeah.
You can get them as a sub later
they
on.
haven't
Some of the
played-
final rosters. Then
They
need to
haven't
be
played or registered.
or registered. Yeah.
So
So
So, for instance, I'd be open.
purposely, like
No,
me and Quinn,
Just a
the last minute edition. I'm trying to wrangle a position.
okay,
on, like,
Lathamer
Northern
and
or
Karma are
Flipside.
subs. Okay.
All right,
Oh, Lethamyr.
Lethamyr Karma.
Okay.
Very good.
Lethamyr, he's a solid player. I actually think he's underrated in NA a little bit, but I haven't seen the roster play. I don't want to make any assumptions, but I'm gonna have to put them fourth or fifth. G2, I think, dude, the Crow factor is insane, man. Like the ability for Crow to just show up and carry his team like he did at LAN. Like, I'm sorry, anybody who's listening, Crow was without a doubt the MVP of that
Thank
series.
you. Yeah.
His performance was incredible. In all sides of the pitch, he was like just excellent. He had great shots. He finished under pressure and in like tight opportunities with regards to time and angles. He had great defense and he did such a good job at reading all of the flipside attacks. And with that said, I think flipside actually kind of shut the bed.
They beamed it for sure.
Yeah, a lot
They
of
beamed
Big
just
mistakes.
We do agree that
complete
Lachino was
misplays.
MVP of day one, though. I think that MVP
Right, I
against
agree, I
Flipside in day
agree.
one was out of this world. Some of his touches, both offensively and defensively, and not so much in the midfield, but just like at either end, he was absolutely on fire. And then Kronovi day two was out of this world. Over
Just
Zero
Kronovi on
obviously
day
stepped
two
up.
is
Nobody expected anything of him, so Over Zero was a player who like performed like at the highest level compared to what people thought he would.
He broke
so
through his
biggest
skill
step up from
ceiling.
him.
Like nobody planned for him to play what he did.
Huge step up for Over Zero.
He-
But I think that, like, I agree with Quinn. I think Kronovius, my
I
line
think
MVP.
Kronovi
Lachino
showed what he
was
was truly capable
incredible.
of, and that's what
Mhm.
like people don't understand like what Kronovi can really do for the team. And I know Quinn, you and I have talked about this quite a bit about how once he realizes his true role for that team and that being able to needs to pretty much be able to touch the ball as many times as possible, because the things that he can do when he really breaks out, like you stated, is unbelievable.
He's so consistent just in any part of the pitch. And that's so underrated, like such an underrated aspect of him. Everybody knows he can do like we might say brilliant things, which like pull some crazy shot out of nowhere 1v3 kind of thing, right? But that's really not what makes Crow such a great player in my eyes. In my eyes, I see Crow as like one of the best because he's so consistent and he's so good at reading the plays that other teams are trying to set up at where the attacking threat is going to appear, and he can just stop them. He reads them so quickly that he's always able to put them in a position to capitalize, and he almost never flubs the ball. Like he just never just tosses it too hard. He's so clutch, and he does such a good job at, even if he does have to take a 50-50 and he loses the ball, for instance, he never puts his teammate in a compromised position. So that's just honestly for me why I think he's such a strong player, and he showed that at LAN. But back to the top three. So Crow, honestly, he's like a wild card, man. He
Yeah.
can just like put the team on his back and just carry him. So I think we might see that. Other than that, I don't think we're gonna see the same ability. You know, everybody at home is so much more comfortable. The LAN environment's much more difficult to play at. It's very off-putting, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Can't
Playing
can't
on that
disagree with
stage.
I mean, first-hand experience, man. I'm sure you can kind of detail like it's a little bit different than playing at home, right?
Just like the crowd screaming and just you see like lights and things going around you. You're just trying to focus on the game. And
Quinn can't handle lights,
Oh
guys.
my God.
He's like a
He's
moth.
a basement dweller.
He doesn't know what to do.
oh
Dirty
man,
basement dweller.
oh man, they had this light that was like directly above me, and it would just go straight into my eyes. Cause like I don't know if you saw, I like sit pretty close to the monitor, but it would just blind me, and they were like flashing it on and off and on. I felt like I was like in Counter-Strike getting like flashbanged or something. Like, is this real life? Like, is this happening? Did they not realize they're trying to play Rocket League here? But
Yeah, top
I think
three.
that
Give me three teams,
okay.
man. Three teams. Hit me with them.
KOU and Exodus. KOU, Exodus, and I think Genesis can squeeze through.
They have been
I
playing
mean,
well.
Man, we
They
agreed
have
on
been
like
playing well.
everything there. Absolutely
Well,
everything.
No.
Right. I mean,
And
This
KOU
is wrong.
is so good online.
Yeah.
So good. They're onliners, dude.
They're the onliners.
They're nuts,
the
man.
biggest onliners ever. Just
KU's
because of
just
how much
great
they
'cause
fell off at LAN.
They know how to play just really solid Rocket League. They take risks, but
Great
Vibrant
rotation.
and Sad are great defensively. So good. Like Jacob takes so many risks, especially, but they're always able to cover for him and lets them get
Jacob
away with
just
a lot of
makes
things.
a lot of difficult situations for his teams.
Well, he takes huge risks because then he messes it up. Like, you know, that's that's a chance for the other team to counter, right? But
Yeah.
Right.
Fireburner and Set Jr. are so skilled in.
I'd say Fireburner's
defense.
defense is the
Yeah,
real standout.
definitely.
I think Sad Junior's
Definitely.
nowhere near Fire's level usually, but then at LAN, Fireburner just didn't space very well. Got caught out in no man's land a lot, which is uncharacteristic of him. But yeah, I
Right.
agree. Kings of Urban, they're going to be making a
I
pretty
think
good
Kings of
run.
Urban's gonna come back and they're gonna be playing than the last land. Last land, it
Yeah,
was
they
an
flubbed it,
experience,
but-
right? Yeah, it happens.
Then they got
Uh,
flip side and losers bracket, so that's pretty rough. Pretty rough
Yeah.
facing
I-
losers bracket flip side.
So
I think that Exodus.
Quinn, I don't care what you think. I want to know what you think about
Okay,
what
okay, I'll
top
move on,
3
but
teams are going to hit in
Exodus
the
is
EU.
gonna be good.
Yes,
no, no,
Exodus
no,
is
EU, go.
EU.
No,
EU.
three.
Hit me with the EU,
Lord,
please.
Okay. All right. I actually think Northern Gaming are gonna be really good. So
Oh, you think so?
I'll take-
Oh, it's a really bold prediction.
I
I
think,
wonder what. I wonder what. Ga-
Bold
what made
Any
you
more
come to that
bold
conclusion?
predictions? Is our flip side going to be good as well? No,
Yeah.
I don't think. I wouldn't say that.
no, yeah. Obviously, flip side of Northern Gaming. Everybody knows these houses.
That's what I
Great players all
figured.
around. They're gonna be making it. For the third team, I really, honestly, I'm gonna go with SA. Actually, believe it or not, I think SA showed that they can play really excellent Rocket League, like how they played against Flipside in the qualifier 2. Sometimes I think they're also a bit of a wild card, but I think they're going to be able to take this LAN a little bit more seriously. And,
Mm-hmm.
like we said, Doomsday's not going to be
Please,
subbing.
Doomsday.
And actually, do you know a little bit behind that? Not only was he subbing, but he could have actually played, but he said,
He could have
they're-
played.
They're playing well. They're playing well. I'm not.
Oh
gonna
wow!
interrupt
Look how
the
they
flow."
smashed this open bracket of no names with Kasabi.
For everybody
I'm gonna
out there
take a
who's
back
listening,
seat.
you should always be playing with your starting roster whenever possible.
Yeah, when you can, just believe.
It's just a stupid mistake to go with a lesser roster. There's a reason that is the starting roster. These are the 3 players with the most synergy. These are 3 players who are the most mechanically skilled, generally. And it's just nonsense to think that because a player's been playing for like 15 minutes before you, that that you shouldn't interrupt him. I mean, you are a starting member for a reason, and I
Man, it's-
recommend all players out there, if you're in a similar situation, take your spot. Start.
Who's your wild card for EU? A team that you think could upset or steal that last qualifier spot, the 4th place.
What was Turbo's team?
Turbo, Dogu, and a lot.
Oh my.
And Turbo and a
dogs.
lot did scrim with a lot of different people, and they did some tournaments with a lot of different people, and they played with Dogu, and they're like, this is the one. So they
Well,
believe. Yet to have any really impressive results.
Turbo
though.
is just he's nuts, man. He's actually so underrated in my mind. He's a really, really good player. So
Oh yeah. For sure.
playing against him at LAN, I can tell you, when we were in the middle of that reverse sweep against Mach-EU, Turbo
Mhm.
was the only player who was making me like antsy or nervous. Like, we cannot let this guy sit on the ball. He's gonna make shit happen.
Yeah, Pashi and Siki
So-
flubbed at the LAN for sure. Turbo is kind of okay, not
So he
nothing
had really
like
good
out of this world.
players, but they just were
Yeah.
playing too slow. Honestly, they just didn't give up.
Mm.
Just didn't have enough pressure, and like that let us survive for way too long when they could have just
Yeah,
ended us right there. You know
yeah,
what I
they
mean?
could have barred
they're
you
able
for
to-
sure.
Yeah. And then once
I
you
can
kind
see
of
it.
start tilting, yeah. Anyways, those are my top 3. But Exodus gonna be wild, man.
Well, to kind of wrap
Let
this
me
part
hype
up.
'em up.
Other teams to kind of pay attention for, one that we haven't mentioned, the guys over at Enjoy just picked up a sub with Penta Esports. They are going to be, that is your kind of your one that they'll definitely be in top 16. It's just a matter of where they're going to place after that.
Yeah.
So
I'm just been consistently surprised by how well Enjoy have done, and I'm waiting for them to peak, and I think they are going to peak before they get a chance to make LAN, unfortunately. But they work very well together as a team. They show like
put in
it's
the work
not
too.
all about individual skill. It's about teamwork and about practicing threes, not solo twos and 1v1s all day. So those guys they're legit. They're a
Yep.
very, very good team. Have been consistently high rated in EU for a long time now.
Yep.
And
And on
we see good things for
the
them.
on the
Is it
NA
just
side,
me?
yes, it is.
Wait. No. Every time I hear Team Enjoy, I just think of those stupid like e-cig things. You know what I'm talking
Quinn,
about?
you're part of
I-
Vape Nation.
I
Shut
need to
up,
change their
Quinn.
name, man.
Quinn, get out of here.
Just
But
telling
yeah.
you the truth, man. They need to change their name.
No,
And then
they're Penta now. They were Team
Oh,
Enjoy, now
is
they're
it- is it
Penta.
officially
Penta
Penta's
now?
been picked
Okay.
up by
Penta
Penta
is their
equally,
new-
so they've changed it.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Kaunos
It's
are another
more
one
work
somebody
getting
mentioned in
involved.
chat.
That's a big word.
Yep. And then
Kaunos
on
are
the-
another team that are showing up and they need to change their name.
Yep. On the other side, then for NA, names that you guys should all well know: Chrome, Genocop, Hot Wheel Sid are going to be taking up as Team Revival. They have Aaron Prem as their subs. So Revival
Decent
also going to be
team.
one of those teams that could possibly come in and make plays. We've seen what Genocop and Sid can both do. Chrome is going to be kind of that one that glue that holds those two crazy ones going together. So we'll see how they'll pan out as well. But thank you again for everybody coming in to join us. We're going to move on to topic 2, where we're going to talk about personal PR. Quinn, the Landboy Lobdell, with us joining for this section. There's a couple things that have been happening in the scene that we would like to take note of and how to react to it, with some advice that we can give and solutions that we can give to make sure we act about this in the most professional manner. Because with esports, we are young, we are growing, and if we can learn from others, whether it be others' mistakes or things in the other esports scenes or professional sports, and try to take that into consideration before making decisions or doing what have you, not the worst idea. So if you guys want to kind of take that away, Johnny, if you want to bring up some kind of insight.
Yeah,
of what's
so
going
I
on.
already talked a bit about the logistical side of the Pashi roster switch at the last minute. Now Pashi's with Devo and Panda, and Siki who was with Devo and Panda before Pashi took that spot, is now with K-Dop and Skyline. So these are the 6 players that we're going to be talking about. But most of this, like how it's ended up, is to do with Pashi, Devo, and Panda, because K-Dop and Skyline were, as far as I'm aware, not in the loop that Pashi was going to be leaving, because if they were, they would have obviously had a bit more of an organized approach to the last minute addition of Siki. And Siki had no idea that Devo and Panda were going to ditch him. But yeah, we're going to talk about that. We'll have a bit of back and forth, because I know Quinn's got some very interesting stuff to say about this. But there is actually a tweet longer that Pashi made, or that Pashi released, and I'll post that in the chat right now. You guys can read it yourselves. I'm not going to read it all out loud. But my 2 cents on this is it seems pretty weird. Like I don't even believe that Pashi wrote this. It doesn't look like something that he would have written. I think this has come straight from Mockit. That's just me guessing. But I reckon somebody's given Pashi the statement and he's posted it under his own name. Who knows? Either way, he's put his name on it, so he obviously agrees with what it says. The one thing that I do want to highlight is this ridiculous part in the middle where Pashi says that he sent a big org, whatever that means. He sent a big org replays of him playing with Devo and Panda, and also he sent them some replays of him playing with K-Dop and Skyline. And the big org said, "Oh wow, yeah, we really want to sign up you, Devo and Panda. That's a really good-looking team right there." And then Pashi said, "Good to know. I'll sign them up." And then he went to Mock NA instead of the big org. So that just seems utterly ridiculous and inconceivable to me. What on earth is that? Like, is that ever gonna be real?
No, Quinn. Obviously,
any universe.
Quinn, you've set
What
up
are-
orgs before. You've been a part of multiple orgs, and your own pretty much. What is the general census of when it comes to making a team? What things do you look for in players or picking up players? And is one of those reviewing video? Like, is that your only decision? Like,
video reviews, man.
I
how
mean,
does-
okay, come on, man. That sounds a little
Look at this specific line
loaded right there.
in brackets.
Honestly-
This is a very
honestly,
large org.
If you ask me what I think
like
happened,
in this
that-
in this
Wait,
is
wait,
in a
wait,
serious
Let me speak,
manner.
let me speak. I really think that Pashi may have gotten an offer and he's already acquainted with Lucky and Mock, the org. Mock probably doesn't want to lose them. I know that they have like a relatively close relationship, right? They've just been, he's been sponsored by Mock for how long now? Like months
quite a
and
while.
months and months,
Yeah,
right?
full
So,
time.
Right.
so I'm sure that, and Pashi's one of the best players in the world, without a doubt. So I think that Lucky probably didn't want to lose him, and I'm guessing that he used that to eke out a better offer from Mockit.
This was a very large organization, Quinn. A very large organization.
Hey man,
so
to
we
some
obviously
people,
need to take that
prestige
pretty
is more
seriously.
important. Okay, come on, man. What is this, dude? On to the
That's-
next question,
that's
man.
so
I disagree.
Stupid. No, for
Well, I mean,
real. Like,
okay,
is this,
so,
I just
I
want
mean-
to ask you: is this statement legit? In a million years, this is like such rubbish this is a very large organization. What is that supposed to mean? They're a large organization. They employ people just to look at replays of teams who want to join the organization. And they're like,
Well,
oh
dude,
yeah,
come on,
Devo
Orgs
Panda.
definitely scout out potential
Devo Panda
teams.
Pashy,
Man.
what a team.
Well, I
Yeah,
mean,
I'm sure they've got a
and to
guy
counter
who's
that,
like a real Rocket League analyst. He's seen thousands of replays, and he took a glance at the replays like, yep, that's the team we need. There's like so few people in the world who are qualified to judge a team based on replays.
Qualified or
There's
not, they're still gonna
you
want
can
to take a
probably
look,
count
man.
on one hand. What are they going to see? It's like, oh, this team scored a bunch of goals. Yeah, that looks good. What if he sent them replays of like Devo Panda and him winning, and then he sent them replays of him losing with Kate Up and Skyline?
And if they're gonna invest in a
what do they
team,
think that?
no matter what, they're gonna try and make sure that this is a team that they feel confident in, and whether that's just watching some replays or not,
No way, dude. There's no way.
dude. I'm sorry. I'm
no
sorry.
way
It's
that's
not as
real.
far fetched as you think. I think you're nitpicking here, Johnny boy.
Not a chance.
I'm
I
just
was
gonna
thinking
say it. I
like
think you're
this
nitpicking
one.
here. Like, who cares how it's written? Just look at
They
the
forget.
sentiment.
So there's like months of tournament results and players' history in the competitive scene, and you're gonna ignore all that and look at a couple of replays and think, oh yeah, that looks pretty good to me. Let's sign
I
him up.
mean,
That's
even though, and
nuts.
that's something
Well,
Johnny
they may have
didn't
wanted
consider too.
Pashy and looked at the rosters that he would roll with. A lot of you would be so surprised. I mean, we can just look at IBP. Sad
Yeah.
and Gibbs. I mean, Gibbs just pretty much like dropped completely out to be a caster, and Sad actually got pretty much just kicked down, like the rug slipped out from underneath him.
Yeah.
With regards to IBP, they wanted Crow. They knew Crow is the #1 like face of Rocket League, right?
Yeah, I agree,
And,
but
and
they
they don't
didn't
really
figure
care
that
what
out.
team he goes with.
Dude,
they
didn't
just
figure
want
that out by
Crow.
looking at replays. They probably knew that because he's like the top scorer. He's the fan favorite. He's the one who's been, carrying the team on his back for months.
Right, no,
and
but
it
let's
wasn't
say
a
they have that
secret.
with Pashy, and they're saying, well, look, we want to see whatever team you're like.
Dude, I
team's
don't
responsible
disagree.
for your
They
investment.
wanted Pashy, obviously.
Right.
But this whole idea that they looked at a couple of replays and that's how they decided on the roster is nonsense. There's no way that is what they did. I
Even
think
if they did or not, I
obvious
think
for me.
it's like
Hey,
not a
girls,
great point to
girls,
pick at,
girls,
man.
calm down.
Listen,
Stop it.
I think
Stop it. Both
it's
of you need to
far more
stop.
conceivable.
As
if-
great as it is for the show, I
No.
understand where both of you guys are coming from, and I agree to both sides. There is
I don't think you do though. No
there
way.
is orgs out there
Pashy
that
just
will.
pick the team. Pashy
Wait,
just-
okay. Make your point. Make your point.
Okay,
team.
there
That's
is
all it
orgs.
is.
There is orgs out there that will scout teams. Do I trust those orgs? Maybe not as much as someone that has been watching the scene or is actually in the scene. Like Quinn, if you were to go out and scout teams and be like, yeah, these are who I see would work well together, I would trust your opinion more than an org. Simply because I know you as a player and something you have more cadence to yourself, right? I would believe that more. But when there's no detailed subject, and the part that Johnny, you also need to understand, even though he's going to make this long tweet, he doesn't have to give all the details. We don't know all the details behind the scene. And will we ever? I don't know. But it's not our choice to make that decision or find out what that decision is. And that's something that we're probably always going to speculate on. And that's what you guys are doing. You're speculating on certain things based upon how you emotionally feel towards the situation. And I agree to both sides of that. It makes sense. Okay.
No, looking at replays is never the reason, dude. Never. Like, but straight up, Pashy picked the team. Come on. Does anybody think that there's another reason that how this happened other than Pashy was like last minute? Yeah, actually, I've played with Devo and Panda before, and I think I like that roster more than Kate Up and Skyline. So I'm gonna, last minute try and get in that team because I think I have a better chance. Is there anything wrong with that? No. But is there something wrong with saying that a large organization looked at replays of that roster and they liked it and that's why you went for it? What? Just tell the truth. Like, I already know what happened because, and like you said, I'm just making a prediction here. But there's no way in a million years that a large organization looked at replays of Pashy, Devo, Panda, and we're like, oh, yep, go with that one, Pashy. And Pashy's like, okay, will do. And then he goes off to mock it. No way. Not in a million years. I'm not backing down on my opinion on that. I'm sticking to it until eternity. But yeah, Pashy just straight up picked the team, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think that Quinn's like missing my point here.
No.
Like,
Yeah,
there's nothing wrong with Pashy
I'm not one
choosing
for,
the team that's
I'm
best
not
for
one for speculation, man. That's the thing. I don't really think that.
Yeah,
I don't
said
really
it.
know what the hell happened, man. I have no idea. Like, it could have been anything happening, and it's
he
so
might have, like-
vague that, like, dude, who knows? Really, who knows? At the end of the day, and orgs are weird, man. After playing on top teams and seeing how some of the orgs, like, what they want from us, or like what they used to like quantify results, like, it's just stupid. And like, so, like, with my experience, just seeing that orgs like really just look at ridiculous things. All they're looking for is money at the end of the day. They're trying to see, maybe they just want a flashy team, man. That's not far-fetched to think that they want to pick up the flashiest team they see because that's a team that's more likely to pick up fans.
Yeah, I know, I agree. Like, that's not my point, though. My
Anyways,
point
no,
is
but
that
I
this
understand that he
statement
might
is
be he might be
absolute
lying.
rubbish. The statements are
Right,
rubbish. It's
right.
just a
I don't know,
whole
man.
load of rubbish, and I don't know why it exists. It's
My
just
opinion on this is
nonsense.
not so great.
Just say that you picked the team because you like them. There's nothing wrong with that. And then, like, I talked to you about this before, and I agree with you on this point. It's actually kind of, if we're gonna say, oh, what a sad story, Siki getting wrecked again, it's kind of Devo and Panda that screwed over Siki, not Pashi. Like,
definitely
Pashi
Devo
just
and
wanted
Panda.
the best
I totally
situation for
agree with
himself.
that.
So, yeah, you go ahead and explain that, because
Right.
I
So,
definitely agree with you on this point.
so Devo and Violent Panda were teaming with Siki, and Pashi actually swapped with essentially Siki, but Siki had no idea. Now,
Yeah.
you know, I've been on teams with sudden roster swaps. It's happened twice to me, with Sad Jr. to KOU and Moses to Exodus, right?
Uh-huh.
Now,
Those your teams as
yeah,
well.
those were my teams. We had the rosters, and out of nowhere, they didn't tell us, like, okay, there was no warning. Now, with Sad Jr., I actually had a bit of an idea. He always hangs around the KOU guys. He'd be there
Mhm.
late because he's playing ranked with them. When he came to me and said that, honestly, I was fine with it because we weren't playing that hot anyway. Right? Like, it was okay. We were all okay with it. Me, him, and Pino.
Yeah.
But it still sucks to get caught off guard. Now,
Yeah.
the difference in this situation is that everybody seems to be targeting Pashi for what
He's
they
looking
say,
out for
swiping
himself, right?
Siki's team. But it's not Siki's team. It's Siki, Devo, and Violent Panda. And 2 out of 3 members of that team decided they'd rather play with Pashi than with Siki. I don't care how you want to twist it. I don't care how you want to turn it. Whether Pashi team hops to a million teams and you think that, and you think that he's an asshole because he just screws over other players, it's totally irrelevant. The only people in control of this actually happening are Devo and Violent Panda. They could have said no and nothing would have happened. But they chose to go with Pashi, and I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that. Like, I don't know all the details, obviously, of how they went about it. Sounds like Siki got blindsided pretty hard, and if that's the case, that's definitely the wrong way to go about it.
Yeah.
Teams need to learn how to be candid with their teammates, even if you're uncomfortable with the whole situation. It's just stupid.
Yeah, it's all about honesty, right? Because from what I know, Siki asked Devo and Panda, hey, I know that Pashi is interested in teaming with you guys. Just want to know what's happening here. And they told him, dude, relax. It's not going to happen. We're with you. And then he, came back later that night and he found out that they were signed up on the RLCS roster with Pashi. So he's just like, come on, I know that your combined age is 33, but can you just show a little bit of honesty here? Like, why are the players just lying to each other's faces? If you just stop trying to have hidden agendas, just tell your teammates what you want, tell them how you feel, and if everybody knows what each other wants, you're much more likely to get to a conclusion that not only works for everybody else, but it's probably going to work better for you as well.
Right.
Like, you don't need to backstab to get the best situation.
I'm glad that you bring that up, Johnny, and I'm glad Johnny is also allowing Quinn to talk about what he wanted to, because I know it's almost like a trigger thing from when I heard you guys talk yesterday and a little bit today. So, moral of the story and what this is really coming down to, and Pashi, if you are in chat and would like to come talk, we're more than willing to have you. The thing that I'm actually
people can defend themselves. I don't mind.
the thing that I'm
It's all good.
disgusted with in this community is the amount of witch hunting that went on Reddit towards Pashi. Some of the things that you guys said online were way too far. I don't care what happened. You guys don't know the details, but going out and saying the things that some of you guys said in that Reddit thread, not okay.
The anger was completely misguided.
It
Pashi
totally was.
just joined
Like,
an
Pashi
available
took every
team.
bullet, right?
Yeah, and it's all Devo and Violent Panda who were control of that situation. If Pashi
Yeah.
requests to join, if somebody wants to join Crow and Over Zero, well, it's up to Crow and Over Zero if they want to replace Latch or not.
Yeah.
Right. So
And in that
that's
situation, it's Devo and Violet Panda. They said, we want to play Siki. They didn't tell him. And it's the end of the story. The anger is so misguided. It's not right.
Yeah,
Right.
let's look at a hypothetical situation. Let's say Squishy Muffins, for example, he is subbing for for Gamers 2, sorry. Let's say that Squishy Muffins, he was teamless before this, just for this hypothetical situation, and he approaches Gamers 2 and he says to, like you said, Chronovian over Zero, guys, I am looking out for myself here. Don't have a team. I just want the best chance possible to, build my brand and have a good chance at qualifying and winning the LAN. And I think you guys are the best teammates for me in that regard. So how's about you kick Lachinio and give me a shot? And if they agree to that, like Quinn is saying, that is on Chronovian over Zero. And before anybody gets confused, this is not happening. This is a hypothetical situation. But if it did happen, that would not be Squishy's fault. He's just looking out for himself. This is a business world. He needs to look after himself and his brand. But if the same thing applies, if Pashi goes to Devo and Panda and says, guys, I think that I'll have a better chance with you guys than I do with my current team, Skyline and KDOP. That's not Pashy's fault. He's just, he's just looking out for himself. And it's like Quinn is saying, it's up to Devo and Panda whether or not they want to be transparent and go ahead with that and kind of ditch Siki, or if they want to be a bit more conniving and tell Siki, hey, we're all good, don't you worry about a thing, you go sleep sound, buddy. And then Siki wakes up in the morning, he's like, what happened to my team? Like, that's where the real problem is, the lack of honesty. That's the part that really triggers me. Obviously, I know that there's a lot of history with Pashy and a lot of teams. He's kind of burning a lot of bridges by doing this to a ton of people, which is up to him, because every time that he does this, he's probably, burnt a bridge, this time with Sticky potentially, or with KDOP and Skyline. Is that a good idea? That's up to him to decide. Like, does he want the current, reward of playing with a team that he thinks is going to be more successful, or does he want the long-term, try and keep everybody happy so that you can invest in the future by having more connections, better networking? That's up to Pashy to decide. I'm sure he's made a decision for a reason. We definitely need, like Lawler said, to just stop witch hunting him. But that doesn't mean that we can, judge the decision for what it is, because the other side of the coin is, where on earth is the trust in your teammates? Where on earth is the investment in the future? Like, you can't.
And I'm glad you bring that up.
Just go and win a Gfinity in the first week playing together and think, oh, we're amazing! Wow, we won Gfinity. It was meant to be. What if they go and lose Gfinity to Flipside? They're like, oh man, we can't even beat Flipside. I guess this was a terrible decision. Let's go with a different team. Just give it some time.
And there's certain things, and that's the solution we hope to present here, is what. And in this player PR concept that we're talking about is things that teams need to do. We talk about how the ways that we need to be transparent. Players need to be more communicating to each other. They need to be on the same page before these decisions are made, so this doesn't blow out of proportion like it has. We also bring in, and I know Quinn and I have mentioned this in the past, there is for some reason like an uncharacteristic, like there's like a saltiness or like a people are like overly sensitive when roster swaps happen, whether it be in the community because they are, they're fans. Like, people feel strongly for their teams. And we haven't even gotten to the huge, massive orgs where you have big fan bases coming in through, like your TSMs, your C9s, where live or die, I don't care who's on the roster, that's my team. We haven't even got to that yet. And we haven't even seen the full potential of that. So there is, as Quinn has stated, some very unwarranted sensitivity when it comes to roster swaps. Quinn, you want to talk about that?
Right. So something that everybody kind of needs to just take a moment to sit back and realize is that at the end of the day, this is an esport. This is competitive Rocket League. And everybody here who's playing at the highest level is somebody who has practiced and trained and is trying to become the best that they can be. Everybody who's competing wants to win. It's so clear to see the difference between players who are free training and really going hard to be the best player they can be. And so it makes sense that with regards to rosters, with regards to team changes, you're going to always be looking out for what's the best for you and your team. Oftentimes, the you part gets emphasized, and I think we discredit players so much, but I mean, what's the difference from Kronovi getting rid of Gibbs and Zed? What's the difference from any of the other players who have left for roster swaps? It's just players trying to optimize their chances at winning, and there's nothing wrong with that. We're here to see.
Well, now let me ask you. I'm going to cut you off here. I'm going to cut you off real quick. Where was this reaction for that? It didn't happen, right? Why is that, Johnny?
Well, it does happen. It does happen sometimes. I mean, there's some.
I mean, it does, but no, for that specific situation, like Sad leaving or like Moses going to.
Well, there was
Genesis.
some drama. There was some drama, and it was just not nearly. Honestly, I think that people are pigeonholing Pashy into this, asshole type of person.
But is he at all to blame for that? I think that part of the blame does rest with him because of statements like this one, which are obviously fake and not telling the true story. I don't know why he doesn't just say, hey, I'm looking out for me. If you guys have a problem with that, then I'm not going to miss you as a fan. Because that's the honest situation here. He's looking out for himself. He wants the team that's going to give him the highest chances of making the LAN and winning the LAN.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
He decided that's Devo and Panda. That's fine. Why doesn't he just say that? Why is all of this nonsense coming out about sending replays to a massive org that probably doesn't exist?
Well, he was in chat and he did say he was asked to send replays to that org.
He might have sent replays, but I don't think that was the main reason that he went with this roster. Those guys have had a history of winning tournaments together. Before RLCS even happened, Pashy wasn't really playing every day with Mocket EU. Those guys who kind of already got some distance between them, Pashi, Suki, and Turbo, that is. He was playing tournaments with Devo and Panda way back then. And a lot of people don't know that, but he's he's got some history with those players. And that's why I feel he felt comfortable going to them and saying, hey, come on, we've played tournaments together. We did pretty good. We had that natural chemistry. Let's just make a team at the last minute. This isn't the first time that they've, been on a team together. They've played tournaments before. And that, I feel, is a far more likely reason and a far better reason for being on a team together than sending some replays to some organization and them saying, yep, go, they're the team for you. Because as if they're going to have half a clue as well as you do.
Not to distract from the main point, what I think is so important that all the fans and everybody out there in the community needs to realize, this happens in other esports all the time. There are roster swaps, and people honestly are not always going to agree. Some people are going to say, it wasn't me who was bad, it was that guy. It's important to just take things in stride and not to burn all your bridges and just act like a child, more or less. If a team doesn't want to play with you, honestly, at that point, it's not worth continuing to play with them, because no matter what you do, there's going to be problems with regards to team synergy and the chemistry. You're going to be unhappy with each other, and it's going to come out in your play, right? Mm-hmm. Players will not take responsibility for things. There's going to be fights, arguments. It's just not a healthy team environment, and that's such an important aspect of building a team. So with that said, it's really important that teams and fans out there, like, roster swaps are okay. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's so imperative that you're honest with those around you. If you tell somebody that you're unhappy with their play, that you want to see them improve, but you tell them where, you tell them why, well, hey, they might just say, you know what, you're right. Like, I'm going to focus on this. And that can just save so much drama, so much trouble coming up from within the community. And I don't think that we should also discredit teams for dropping players. We never know the full story, but with that said, it's so stupid to just discredit teams and call them rude or to be condescending towards them when all they're trying to do is increase their chances at winning. And that's what we're all here to see, the best Rocket League possible. So if anything, it should almost be celebrated, if you ask me.
Well,
players trying to put themselves in better situations should not be discredited.
I think that both teams have ended up with probably better teams, because Pashi has had more success with Devo and Panda than he has with K-Dub and Skyline historically, so that makes sense. And I think that Suki is going to have a pretty good team with K-Dub and Skyline now that they've just decided to run with it. I reckon that could definitely work out. I want to go back really quickly. So you said Kings of Urban in this discussion, and they're an interesting team to look at because they dropped Moses for Sad Jr. And if I remember correctly, their public reason for that was that they didn't think that Moses had the work ethic that Sad Jr. did. And I was just like, come on. Like, Sad Jr. is notorious for not playing the game as many hours as his peers and still being pretty good. Like, obviously, to me, they just wanted Sad Jr. because they liked playing with him. Why not just come out and say that publicly, right? Come on.
To quickly interject, had a little bit of backstory here. Sad Jr. is a little bit of an oddity. He has players who he likes to really play with, and when they come around, he will play so much with them, and he will spend his time so focused and dedicated on improving every aspect of his play. He's really concentrated, and what takes him an hour of practice would take others 4 or 5, right?
Well, so, yeah, he does if he enjoys it, right? That's the key.
It's so few players, and he completely changed his play style with us as opposed to them. With us, there were so many times in replays, for instance, that like I'd catch him at the other goal, just like kind of driving around aimlessly, just waiting for us to clear. I'm like, what are you doing, man? Like, come on. We're trying to be like the best we can be. Like, let's not get any easy goals, be lazy, whatever, right? And
yeah, I hear you. Yeah.
And it was better for both of us in the long run that he left.
Yeah, it was. But my point is, again, it's an honesty thing. Like, why are Kings of Urban releasing this idea that they don't think Moses' work ethic is there? Moses' work ethic was definitely there, though. Come on.
No, at the time, Moses was playing less. But wait, I think Sad Jr. No, I agree they wanted to play with Sad Jr.
They wanted to play with him.
But sometimes work ethic means they think that like there's not enough results. Sometimes not enough results like coming from how much time they're putting into it, aka they need to put more time into it. And with Sad Jr., they may not have had that issue.
I don't know. I think that you're kind of working around the real. It's a pretty simple question, yes or no. Like, did they get Sad Jr. because they liked playing with him? Yes or no?
I definitely think that was
that's
60%.
The reason.
But I think
that's the main reason.
Why isn't that
so
legitimate claim to the original
Like, my
So
whole
I
point
feel-
is teams just need to be more honest with why they're picking up players.
I
Nobody
agree,
can
I
like, hold
agree.
it against you if
Right.
you just say,
Now-
hey, I just like this team.
Now,
Hate me or not.
personally, I feel the way about this is that we don't and we shouldn't have to know about this stuff. If a team truly wants to be professional, in my opinion, leave social media out of it. In this day and age, we find out everything at the touch of a fingertip simply because everything is put on the internet, everything is aired out, all that kind of stuff. And when we have 4 weeks to basically build a team and find a new team before the next season, why not spend that time healthy trying out different rosters? Is 4 weeks enough time? Do you guys think that between... I feel the lack of weight between season 1 and season 2 is good. I think carrying that momentum,
Yeah,
bringing that hype is
that makes
fantastic. I think it's a phenomenal job by Psyox, not waiting. They gave teams a month. Let's get back into it. Do you think that should be extended for the purpose of this scene being able to strengthen teams? I'm
No.
going to leave you guys to 2 statements
Short
on that.
answer, no.
No, I like that. Quinn, can you do
And
this
then-
same for me?
No, I disagree.
Why?
I think
Two
that when
sentences.
players came back from LAN, there was a lack of tournaments available for players to get involved with. There was a break from so many of the tournaments. Players are taking a break from Rocket League. It honestly leaves you with just a little bit over 2 weeks. And sure, those breaks maybe player, it's a cause of the players, but honestly, you need a break after something like that. You need a rest. So I just think it's not enough time. With that said, 2 tournaments, right? It's really not enough time to try out multiple rosters. There's not enough tournaments in the downtime of RLCS for teams to try out games, and they have to arrange scrims, and it's so difficult. It's
Okay,
so
now-
difficult. Tournaments are something different than scrims, and like that can't be understated enough, man.
Okay, so now when we look at sports scenes like League of Legends all the time imports players from other scenes just because they know purely by watching that player play, he is phenomenal. We see it all the time from Korea, we see it all the time from Europe, happens all the time. And these team and these players have never played together before in a true LAN environment. We're seeing that same issue with us. So to an extent, I agree. I mean, that's part of the risk that you're taking when you bring in a new roster. The issue is I feel as soon as these players realize that this isn't the best situation, they immediately disband. They immediately say, I can't do this, it's done. Rather than sticking with it and bringing it to, do you guys feel that's a monetary issue?
I think that's fine because players are just gonna have to learn that there's more to picking your team than just how well you did on your first tournament together. Like you can look at a history of a player. That's far more valuable to me anyway. Like I've advised teams in the past about who to pick up, and I don't really care how they looked last weekend. It's far better to look at the bigger picture. Look at their work ethic. Look at their personality. Look at how good they are in a competitive environment, being calm and composed.
Penta's
Those
a prime
things are
example,
way-
right? Like
Yeah,
Penta's a prime
those
example.
guys just stuck together, and I'm never gonna tell a team who come to me and ask for roster advice to go and play a tournament together and base it on that. That's just
I agree. I think that players need to spend more time just.
Johnny, your audio just cut out. Yeah, I can't hear you at all. Rip. Dude, Quinn, what did you do? I know you wanted to win this conversation, but you can't just get rid of him. I can't hear Johnny at all. Quinn, are you talking? Is it me? Is it you? Quinn, say sing. Hello?
Wait, hello?
hello.
Hello?
Hello?
All right. Hey,
What's
guys.
happening?
My back.
Everybody's dead. We're all dead. No, no. All right.
Quinn, so me and you can hear each other.
I can hear you guys now.
Lawler. Oh yeah, we're back.
Yeah.
Well, what I was
Okay.
gonna say really briefly is that Quinn said that it's worse for pro teams that there's this short turnover between RLCS, and that's true. Teams are probably going to be weaker as a result than if we gave them months of preparation time to take a break and come
Well,
back
not
stronger.
months, but
Well, you know what I mean, like preparation time at all. But that doesn't really matter for the Rocket League Pro scene from the spectator standpoint, from the production standpoint. They don't really mind if teams are going to have to bust their asses to get their act together because
No, it
keeping
definitely
that
matters,
momentum
man.
going is far better for the does it really matter?
it really does matter, and I'll tell
in
you
what
why.
way?
First off,
I
I think
can
that it's so important that the tournaments are close enough to each other that we don't feel like, well, when are we going to see RLCS again? Like, I don't want to have
Yeah.
to wait long for RLCS. But if teams are not getting at least 3 weeks of good tournament practice / scrims, players are not all going to be available 24/7, man. You have to account for that.
But
Right
there
now,
were 3
it's just
weeks.
impossible
There
for
was more than
players
3
to do
weeks.
this. No, but you have to understand that immediately after RLCS, there were no tournaments. All tournaments were on like a hiatus. All the players were not entering tournaments.
was
Look at
tournaments
IBP.
in-
How
there
many
was
tournaments
tournaments
did
in
they
Europe.
enter immediately after?
So
I think
why,
it's more of a North American issue. In Europe, there's plenty of tournaments. There's Gfinity every week. Several
also,
of them.
why can't players take it upon themselves? Because no offense to the players, they're lazy. Why can't those guys dedicate to scrims?
They're disorganized, and it's a learning curve.
It's difficult
Yeah.
right now. I mean, the scene's
Time at
developing, and it's not
We
always
can't.
so
We
easy as
can't.
just
I don't
get
care.
scrimming.
I don't care. We can't keep. If we really want this scene to grow, it's gonna take
Well, no, but
some player
But
responsibility.
An extra 2 weeks would not
You'd
have
still
been
see
the
the
end
same
of the world.
There would still have been last minute roster
but I-
swaps.
but
Right,
I
yeah,
under-
there'll still be last minute rosters swaps, but it would give you way less of an excuse. It just wouldn't be valid. A month
There
would
is
have
no
been-
excuse.
or like
right
6
now.
weeks would have been an
No
incredible
excuse.
amount of time, and it would have given players plenty of times to try out multiple rosters. The difference between League of Legends and between Rocket League is that League of Legends, the season will end, and then after the season ends, they'll go and they'll boot camp for like a month. We don't even get that chance.
because we
Because
can't.
for a month,
But
and
there
then
has
you'll
been
get
a
back,
month.
and then you'll come back. No, but you're forgetting that in like certain areas, the competitive scene dies. It's to the organizers' advantage, to the production, that the players are going to have strong teams who are going to be playing attractive Rocket League for viewers.
But that 99% of the viewers don't know the difference between like 90% of the like the top 90% and top 100%.
Should we give
Doesn't
them
matter to them.
shitty Rocket League to watch? It's going to lead
I mean,
to a
the-
bad cast.
it's
It's not
already-
going to be good for the development of the scene.
Dude, there were so many bad games at the LAN, but they were still so hype because Rocket League is so hype on LAN setting. They don't need the absolute perfection gameplay that we see online.
Right, but at
from
least
some of the best
a
tournaments.
lot of the sets were at least close. There were like reverse
Yeah, but
sweeps
they were-
happening and a lot of 3-2s. That's good enough. It doesn't have to be the best as long as they're relatively close, and we're more likely to see crazy plays. Like, you know how everybody went wild for that over zero air dribble? It was a good air dribble, not as good as I think the hype that it received, but plays like that are going to happen when we're going to have great teams who are confident with lots of practice.
Dad, dude, that's inevitable. Like, regardless of how much, if they get 2 more weeks or not, I don't think it'll make
that 2
any
weeks or
difference at
not
all.
would give players more of a chance to find better teams and make everybody more comfortable without seriously delaying the RLCS to the point that it cuts the scene.
If they really want to find better teams, then they just need to,
I mean, can
deal-
you think of a counterpoint that the extra 2 weeks would hurt the RLCS?
It
yes,
wouldn't.
because they would come later. There's 2 more weeks without RLCS happening, which sucks. Like,
Oh,
the sooner it comes
come
back,
on, man.
within reason, the better.
Yeah,
And I think that the fact
there's-
that production have turned it over this quickly and got second season ready is a great thing. And
Yes,
I'm
I
not
think-
sorry at all for the players. I think they've had adequate time, and there's months of evidence of who like is good and bad in the Rocket League scene that they should be looking
Now,
at. Not
can
like coming back
we-
and thinking, oh no, we only have a month to scrim. Like, look at the months of evidence of how good and bad players are.
Can we
That's, like,
can we
far-
agree to
far more
disagree on the
valuable.
aspect that more time isn't a bad thing, but I do think the amount of time that they allot is good. I don't think
will-
players can use the
yeah.
excuse as the announcement because they know season 2 is coming. I don't care.
I
Like,
agree
Why would you-
that
why would you not
more-
prepare for
more
that?
time would give better teams, right? But I guarantee you, who's going to use those 2 weeks better? The RLCS production team or the pro players? The RLCS production team are, because the pro players are idiots and they don't know what's best for
I
themselves.
feel- I
so
feel
they're probably just
player-
gonna flick a team or not. I think that I think it's
responsibility-
done all right.
player responsibility
Yeah.
is something that needs to be addressed, and
They haven't
we
got
do have,
monkeys that they're doing. Give
we
the
do have-
time to the production team.
we do have a bunch of younger people in this scene. It is something very new to them, the first time in competitive. And I feel players, if they really want to take this seriously, I know it's difficult to do. I know money is an issue. Having to decide whether I, basically stop doing stuff and try to commit to this is part of the issue. And if I said, hey, you're on a team, here's a salary, that wouldn't be such a problem. But if players really want to take this seriously, they need to understand that, okay, this season's over. We were close. We didn't make it. What do we do? You know what? I'm going to spend these next 4 weeks finding the best possible team. That should be my priority because I know. And if you disagree that you don't know season 2 is coming, then maybe you shouldn't be a player.
How are you going to get practice and actually test out your team? Just reputation is
Don't.
not enough. You have to see how
Trust.
players mesh.
Scrims, do
Come on,
something,
man.
do
Yeah, dude.
anything.
Right, but what happens? How can you scrim if teams choose to opt out from playing and you're just left unable to scrim? Like you suffer just because. Like I just think that it's a.
Okay, so that brings the big picture. What should the scene do to make sure there is adequate scrims, whatever organization? So after
Scrims?
roster issues and stuff happen, tournaments, whatever, name it. What things that can we offer or suggest as a solution to either organizations, players, communities, whatever, to make sure that these guys do have the mentality and the adequate time to figure out what they need to do in that time to where they can get a good team together. Because
Right. Well, scrims are always going to be something that's organized between players because players are going to use scrims tactically to.
I know that,
deny
Quinn.
other
I'm
players from
asking
seeing
for a
their-
solution.
yeah.
I know.
Well, I'm just saying.
I have
For.
one.
Wait. No, I think that
How
just
many are
adding more
quizzes?
time would have given players time to try out multiple teams. You're not always a team of 2 trying out one person. You might be trying out for 4 different teams. And that's the kind of scene we want. A scene with so much quality that there's so many possibilities with regards to the teams. And I just don't think that the amount of time they gave, 3 to 4 weeks, was enough. Because honestly, by the end of the fourth week, like there's really no more time to practice, and not everybody's available at the same time. You underestimate that. The scene is not so far developed that we can just say, well, all the players should have spent their whole time playing the game every day. Like it's just not accurate. I think that 2 extra
They've been
weeks
playing
would be
anyway.
more than enough time.
Dude, they've been playing for months, almost a year now. The players are, it's not like, you know, we had Mocha EU disbanding and we had the Flying Dutchman completely disbanding. These players have ran into each other in ranked several times. They've played together in doubles or threes several times, and if they haven't, that's their own fault because the game's been out for a year. You're talking about it as a month, but these players have played against and with each other loads of times in ranked and in like pickup tournaments. I played a tournament with Jesse and Turbo, so they've had tournament experience together, and I'm sure that happens all the time. So it isn't just the 3 weeks. There is history that the players need to be looking at. And like for one really quick example of this is Flarky and Sebadam played RLCS Qualifier 2 with Torex, and they both came to me saying, hey, I don't have a team. And I was like, well, come on, guys. You've played together before. Why not just make a team together again? Because you've already had a proven pretty successful track record. You don't need to, find completely new players. And the other thing that would really help with organization and scrims, and I think this is more important than teams picking up a Rocket League coach, is teams having like managers. People like I heard Gambit's going to be managing for Gamers too. Hopefully he'll be sorting out scrims for them, sorting out signups for tournaments, and doing all of the logistical things. That's something that people like me can do. I've got a history of doing that with Crown and Jules in the past, and I'm sure Quinn could do that for a team. Like having a manager, just somebody to take care of logistics,
I
is
agree.
more valuable at this moment than having a coach, in my opinion.
I
Just,
always,
or even
for
just
the
a
most
third
part, did
another
that
opinion, talk
for all my
to
teams.
a mediator for people to bounce ideas off.
Someone with a level head that's able to basically state, hey, your scrims are at this time. Let me go talk to this team. What teams would you guys like to scrim? And basically be the speaking person behind your team. So you get one solid voice that can organize, take care of, and just say, okay, be here. You're at this time, and then
You can
hold them
start
accountable.
arguments between teammates as well, and
then
that's for
hold
me.
them accountable. Someone you
Instead
can
of
go
this
to.
top-down coaching style, it's much more valuable
Right.
to have a manager who can just be that other opinion and also just help on the logistical side. I think every team should be looking to get managers involved, and officially as well, because why not? It's a good PR thing for both parties.
Well, this has
Also, the
gone.
easiest thing for like scrims is just to set up times that you're always available and look for other teams who are always available at that time, and they always know who your options are. It's the easiest thing to do for all teams
Yeah.
out there looking for advice who don't
glad-
have managers.
I'm glad we both agree that managers would be a good idea for players. So if you guys could offer one solution other than that, something that you guys think the scene could really use to benefit from as a whole that would help in situations like this, what would it be? And then we're going to close this out. Wrap it up.
One word for me is honesty. Like players need to stop being so secretive and trying to push their own hidden agenda. Just be really open with people. Say, right, I did enjoy playing with you, but I'm not 100% sold on it. Rather than saying, oh yeah, we're great. Let's stay together, and then go and look for another team behind your current teammates back. That's like just selfish and not really a very morally correct standpoint, in my opinion. Just be honest with each other. Just tell people up front exactly what you think. That way nobody can hold it against you or be disappointed. And if somebody decides to use it against you, so be it. At least you did the right thing.
Right, I agree. Honesty is so important, and it just creates a better environment for all the players. Everyone's happier, and you're like less worried about like small, simple things such as if you had a bad performance or my team gonna hate me, like there's a potential possibility of me getting kicked. If you know your team are gonna come to you and tell you like, look, you did this wrong, but like let's work on it together, it's just gonna create like a more positive environment, and that's so important. Being positive is what gives you the mentality to do things like make reverse sweeps, and even when you go down in sets, to have the you know, like mental stability and
Mhm.
calm and collectedness to be able to come back and play together as a team, even when you're down or in, you know, uncomfortable situations. So I really think teams should focus way more on the team aspect of things.
Yeah.
You guys are playing together. You guys are all representing the same name, and I mean, it's just stupid to be at each other's throats or create negative environments. And so I really think teams could benefit so much more from that. I think it's really one of the most important aspects of a team, if you ask me.
Teamwork, yeah.
Teamwork.
I agree.
Teamwork makes the dream work, you guys. And we're gonna end
Ah,
right
you
here.
said it.
So I would like to thank Quinn for coming on the show today. I'm gonna make sure I never put Johnny and Quinn in the same room ever again,
What?
discussing a topic
You
that they
asked
differ
for
on.
this. You asked for this, Lawler.
You
I done
knew what you were
goofed.
getting into.
I done goofed. It was a terrible idea because
We
I
warned
need to
you.
have like
Hey, I
a
had
kill
a
switch that
great
makes you
time.
both shh. Like,
For anyone, like, I know I've had, you know, heated discussions with people in the past, and then other like fans and such have approached me and said, "Oh man, I hope that you're still in good terms with the person because you know they're not used to hearing
Me and
that
Johnny
kind of
are
heated
cool, man.
discussion." But we're so cool, yeah, with each other. We love
I
each
mean,
other. I love Quinn, and I
we
love
actually
the
agreed
fact that
at
he's
the
just
end
being
about
honest.
almost everything.
Yeah, we agree on a lot of stuff, but to get there, we need to discuss every possible avenue, and you know that's what I suggested Quinn's come on for this topic. I knew he'd have a lot of interesting things to say. I really enjoyed talking to him on this topic,
Johnny
and
Boy's the man, guys.
but appreciate
Yeah,
it. So
we're-
Quinn, thank
we're
you
good.
again for stopping by as always. If you'd like to shoot out your social
Wait,
medias,
Johnny, is this where we kiss?
yeah, if only
No,
we
okay.
weren't.
if only you had a
in-
webcam, we could make that
If only
happen.
we weren't in time zones 8 hours apart.
Yeah.
Mwah.
Quinn,
It'll be there like next year.
so
Mwah.
cute, you guys. Well, Quinn, shoot out your social media. Tell these people where they can find you, where you're at. Give you some support. Tell them about what you're doing. And then we are going to wrap it up and go to the Community Rising Stars, as this is kind of the end of week 12 of That's the Thing. Or now, as people are calling it, That's the Solution. So we'll see how that goes.
That's the
good.
solution, and oh my god. You guys can find me at Quinn Lobdell RL on Twitter, and it's just Quinn Lobdell on Twitch TV. I realize that it's Quinn Lobdell might get confusing, but yeah, you guys can catch me. I usually tweet out whenever I cast and do some analysis. I'm gonna be trying to get back into streaming. I know I always say it, it's probably never gonna happen, but in case I do, you know where to find me.
Awesome.
Thank you guys for having me on the show,
Yeah, I
and
appreciate
It was awesome fun, dude. Thanks for coming.
it was fun.
Really
See you
great.
guys.